Big news in the 154-pound division as Sebastian Fundora and Tim Tszyu are going to be off for a while, which means Errol Spence Jr. and Terence Crawford have to find new opponents if they are going to fight for the 154-pound titles. And it seems as if there's two very good options for both of them that move the dial on what's going on in that division. Let's talk about that in this video. Errol Spence Jr. got into the ring with Sebastian Fundora, and they announced that they would be fighting each other coming up in the next fight between the two of them. This has hit a roadblock, not just in one roadblock, but two roadblocks. One is that the WBO ordered yesterday a fight between Sebastian Fundora and Terence Crawford. Bigger hurdle, though. According to Samson Leskovich, the nose of Sebastian Fundora was significantly damaged in that fight with Tim Tszyu. And as a result, Sebastian Fundora, needs to have surgery, which means that he is going to be out for a while after having surgery on a broken nose. So what does that mean? It means that we will probably be getting a different set of fights. Now, before I get into it, let me welcome you back to the channel. If you're new to the channel, please accept my invitation to hit the subscribe button. Hit the bell icon so you can be notified of when we release more videos. And if you're a longtime subscriber and supporter of the channel, thank you so much for your continued support. Means a big deal to the channel. So thank you. All right, so look, man, we got a vacant WBA belt. We got a vacant WBC belt. We have a vacant WBA belt and a vacant IBF belt. We have a fight ordered for the WBO belt and a fight, and the vacant WBC just got filled. But the guy that has the WBC belt has been ordered to fight somebody for the WBO, but he's not going to be available for a while. Errol Spence Jr., one of the biggest names in boxing, and Terence Crawford, one of the best fighters in boxing, if not the best fighter in boxing, are moving up in that division. So what are they going to do next? Well, first, obviously, Terence Crawford is not going to be fighting Sebastian Fundora next, and will probably not be fighting Sebastian Fundora, even if Sebastian Fundora for somehow wanted to fight him or his team wanted to make that fight because of the nose injury. So the WBO said that they're going to order that fight. It's going to be very interesting to see, though, whether or not the WBO tries to strip Sebastian Fundora for being injured with a broken nose. And my opinion, I think this is a case of God don't like ugly. Like, I thought from the very beginning that these guys had already figured out what they wanted to do with Tim Tszyu in his next fight. Terence Crawford comes in, steps in the middle of it, get himself a fight for that WBO belt, and now it's off the line. I did a video yesterday about what the most likely scenario for that would be, which is that more than likely Sebastian Fundora is going to drop that belt. Now, if Sebastian Fundora intends on dropping that belt and not fighting Terence Crawford next, I don't care whether or not he's injured or not. Sebastian Fundora should drop that belt if he does not intend on defending it. I don't think that he should make Terence Crawford have to wait, or whoever else, and I think that would be Erikson Lubin, have to wait in order to get a shot at that belt if he's going to turn around and either rematch Tim Tszyu or fight Errol Spence Jr. Either way, I think that if he's not going to do it, he needs to drop that belt. And if he's going to do it, then okay, it is what it is. That's just going to hold up the WBC. It's going to hold up the WBO. I don't see any reason why the WBC would strip Sebastian Fundora. So as far as that affects Errol Spence, look, if Errol's going to get back in the mix, Errol can't wait until, I don't think he should wait until October, November, or something like that to fight Sebastian Fundora, because that would be another very, very long layoff for him. From July to July would have been a year, right? So what is this? April, May, June, July. In 3 months, he'd be out a year again. So then you go a year and what is that? July, August, September, October, November, right? That's another 16 months. So even though it would probably do him good to let his body heal, let his body rest, and all of those things. I think that he should be more active, and I would like to see him get in. The most obvious thing for that he could probably petition to do is to get a shot at the IBF belt, because I think more than likely he would be able to get that, or the WBA belt. Now, the IBF or the WBA belt. Now, for me, the most likely opportunity for that would be the WBA, and probably the biggest fight for him and the biggest money-making opportunity is probably with the WBA against the number one rated guy in the WBA, Virgil Ortiz. Because Virgil Ortiz is in a very similar situation from Errol, in that Virgil Ortiz has, kind of had some issues at 147 and wasn't able to, have a fight because of a blood condition that he had. But now he's the number one rated guy in the WBA. And he's from Dallas, Texas. He's a Mexican fighter out of Dallas, Texas, or right out of the same area as Errol Spence Jr. is. A title fight between those two, I think, may be a very, very significant fight. And the reason that I say that is because, again, they're from the same area, and I think that they could probably make that fight. I don't think that there would be a lot of issues with getting it done, because as we see, there's been a larger likelihood that the PBC can work with Golden Boy. They have now made, as of May, the PBC would have had, and Golden Boy would have made 2 fights together that wound up being very big fights for their fighters. With the first one being Gervonta Davis and Ryan Garcia, and the second one being Canelo Alvarez and Jaime Munguia. Seems like that thing could 3 times could be a charm for Errol Spence Jr. and Virgil Ortiz for that 154-pound title for the WBA. Now, the IBF, I don't know if Virgil Ortiz, last time I checked, Virgil Ortiz is not ranked. Virgil Ortiz is not ranked by the IBF. The number one guy there is Bakram Murtazali. Now, and then Jack Kulke, and then number 3 is Erickson Lubin. So but I don't know really if the IBF, because those guys are real straight shooters with the IBF. I don't really know if they're going to be willing to let Errol, coming off a loss, immediately fight for their belt. But obviously, there's another really good opportunity for Errol if he wanted to fight. It's a good fight, but I don't know if they're going to do it unless for some reason they would clear out the championship or vacate the WBC belt because of the length of time. And that could be the guy, Buachuk, the Ukrainian fighter Buachuk that just beat Brian Mendoza. That very well could be a very good fight there as well for Errol. But I just think at the end of the day that we're not going to see some of those fights that we want to see right away. I think it's probably going to, since it's getting held up, the championship fights, that Terence Crawford need to either fight. Both these guys may wind up sitting out for a while. But whatever the case is, I think now is also time for Terence Crawford to choose what he's going to do at 147 pounds. And it's time for him to drop those belts. He's either got to defend those belts or drop those belts. If he's trying to go for that WBO belt and that thing's not going to be ready to November, I don't think that it is fair for Terence Crawford to hold on to those belts for a year and a half and not defend any of them. But anyway, that's my take on the matter. You let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Peace.